Okay, so this is where we left off yesterday. So the next thing we're going to learn how to do is a piece of furniture over on this wall here. Let me see if my camera will adjust slightly to, oh, is that for Zenos? Okay. Where'd my ruler go? Okay. Okay, so here I'm going to show you all how to make something like this little entertainment center. It's very simple. It's a lot easier than what it looks like. But again, you can pretty much make a box or a rectangle into pretty much any shape, and this is kind of what we're going to talk about. So based off of what this looks like, what would you guys guess the first thing would be? The tall rectangle, yes. So we're going to start by drawing this part right here, and then we're going to take it to the vanishing point and so on and so forth. But just like our couch, we're going to start by making our first 90-degree angle along our baseboard right here, so it looks like it's sitting against the wall and not out in the room or hovering. So, well, you'll just follow along with me, okay? So I'm going to start with my, however wide you want it to be. I'm going to just take mine about that wide. I don't think I want any wider than that. And then I'll do my vertical line off of the baseboard. Again, every time I'm drawing these horizontal and vertical lines, I'm checking my ruler and making sure it's straight with the page. Okay? That's probably as tall as I want mine. And then I'm just going to complete my box. I'm going to give you all a second to do that, and then I'll do the next step. But, actually, after I do this, I'm going to erase that baseboard that runs on the inside of that box. Can you guys all see this okay? Okay. Again, if you weren't here yesterday, make sure you're doing the lesson I posted in your classroom. All right, so what's my next step on this?
No, that way.
Which corners am I going to take to the vanishing point, though?
The top right and top left.
The top right and the top left?
Yeah.
So I am going to take the top right, but I'm going to take the bottom right. If my box was below my vanishing point, remember this vanishing point sits along our horizon line, and our horizon line and vanishing point is essentially where our eye level is. So because it's above our eye level, we won't see the top of our box like we saw the top over here. Okay, so we're only going to see the side of this way. But if you're ever not sure, y'all remember the little tip I gave you when we were doing the name? If you're ever not sure if you're supposed to take a corner to the vanishing point, if you line it up, say I want to try to take this corner, and I line it up, but my line immediately cuts straight into my shape, I'm not going to take that corner. Okay. But again, I took my lines to my vanishing point, but to save myself some erasing and time, I'm only taking them as long as I want my object to be wide. So that's about how wide I want mine to go. And then I'm going to go in here and end my lines with a vertical line. Okay. I don't want it to go all the way against the back wall. I'm going to leave some space there. Maybe I want to put a plant or, a lamp or something else like back there. Or maybe nothing at all. So, I've erased my baseboard in there as well. Y'all let me know if I start moving too fast. So this goes out horizontal. So you're going to take this one into your vanishing point. We all good at this step? Okay. So the next thing I'm going to add to my box here is here's my original. I want to give myself some little storage drawers down below. So I'm going to add another line that leads up to my vanishing point right here for the front of my drawers. I'm going to come over here. And however wide you want them to be, I plan on putting kind of like a big flat screen TV on the wall. So I want to make sure I leave enough room for that. But I'm also going to have to add some depth to this too. So don't go too crazy tall or you will have not enough room. Okay. After you do that, I want to give at least once, divide this to where I have two doors. So I have to find the center of this rectangle where I want my doors to go. Thinking back on yesterday's lesson with the window, how do I find the center? I do the X, and I do it very lightly, corner to corner, because I'm going to erase these lines when I'm done. Okay. So there's the middle of mine right here. And that's where I'm going to add a vertical line. Then I erase my X. So if I just wanted to add a couple little knobs, I would add all your circular shapes that would be rounded would be more oval in perspective because that circle shape was turned off to the side, so it's a little flattened. So if you do something like that, just make sure they're a little bit more oval-like. Okay. Any questions so far? So I want to, on this, now that I've got kind of my doors in here, I want to show that I've got some depth within this piece of furniture. So similar to what we did in the window to show that it was cut into the wall, we're going to do the same thing here and here. I'm going to do little short, you're going to have to kind of eyeball how thick you think it would be. Sometimes you don't want to take it too long because then it's going to look like it's cutting into or going all the way back to the wall. We don't want that. We just want a little bit of depth here. So I'm going to start a line right about there. I'll zoom in a little bit more if I can for this part. So I've got a horizontal line kind of coming off this point. And then I'm going to do another one up here at this corner so I can see the inside crease. Because I'm going to see the underside up here slightly because, again, this is above my eye level and I can kind of see the underneath. So I'm going to, after I get that done, I could go ahead and connect it, or I could go ahead, and I think just to make sure this doesn't look too crazy, I'm going to go ahead and line my ruler up with my vanishing point, and I'm going to pull from that corner back to this side of my entertainment center. Again, because if you make this too shallow or too long, it probably won't look right. So you want to make sure that would make sense. Yeah. And then what else am I going to do after that? Try the other word, I think is what you're meaning. Vertical line. I think you meant vertical, you just sent the wrong one. So I'm going to do a vertical line from here to here, now that I've got this corner. I might have to adjust my top line just a little bit. Just a little bit. And then what would be my last step for this? Yep, you're right. So lining this corner up, my vanishing point, put that. Now it looks like there's depth in there. You could go in there and add like, a little shadow if you wanted to, just to kind of see it a little bit better. You don't feel like you have to, but sometimes people just don't see it until they add that shadow there. Now, let's try to attach a TV to the wall if we're ready. Is everybody ready? Okay. Does anybody's entertainment center not look quite like that and you're not sure why and you want my eyes on it? If you want my eyes on it, bring it up here real quick. Okay. So, yeah, you're on the right track here, so just erase that X. You're on the right track here. So now just from this corner, do a vertical line up there. And then you're going to do to the finish. Okay? Yep. You're good. This line's a little slanted, so just make sure it's vertical. Okay? All right, so if I'm going to add a TV to my wall back here, if you can see here in my example, because of the way this furniture is positioned, I don't see the back side of my TV, but we know it continues back here. The shelf is just, or the side is just sort of covering it up. So I'm going to start this one similar to how I started my window on the other side. The only difference is on my window, I started with my line back here and took it all the way to the front and did my vanishing point and then ended it up here. But this time I'm going to start with the front and then I'm going to take it that way until I run into my entertainment center. Okay, so starting with a vertical line, however long you want it to be, and then lining up the end of that line with my vanishing point and taking my ruler and drawing a line away from it. And then most TVs have that little kind of edge around it to kind of just protect it or to frame it a little bit better. So you'd probably just want to go in and do a little inside border too. Or if you drew yours a little small, maybe you put the border on the outside just to make it look a little bit bigger. Yep, no, you're right. This line here, that goes on. This line was just a little short, so it just needs to go all the way out to where you did this, and then hit from that point out. So you're like, yeah. So you start with the first line like in the middle, and then you take it away. No, everything's still lined up to your vanishing point, so I thought she did that. So I started with this outline is what I started with. So I did my vertical line. And then off of my vertical line, I lined my ruler up to the edge of my line, and then I did my line away. And then away. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so has everybody got a TV that looks like this?
Yes.
So for those of you that say when you start doing your project and this is scrap page. typing on the back. But if you wanted to do a TV not in an entertainment center, let me just kind of show you. Say this is my TV. This is a really, really stretched out TV, but that's okay. And I don't know if you want to do this somewhere else on another piece of paper. You don't have to, but say you have it mounted on the wall, but no sides covering it up. TVs are thick; they're not paper thin. So we would want to add just a little bit of depth to it as well. So we'd add 2 short little horizontal lines, and then we would add like an edge there to make it look like it's sitting off the wall. If it was maybe your TV was a little below eye level, to where we would see the top of it, then we would still do the little horizontal lines off the ends, and we'd also do one off the top or bottom, wherever, like maybe it's higher than your eye level, maybe we would see the bottom of it. Does that make sense? Okay. So, all right, so we've got that. We've got our furniture. So the next thing I'm going to show you is how to do the floor. Okay. So the floor, we could, in your project, you'll have the choice of doing a rug or hardwood floor or tile. And you would essentially, you could do hardwood floor and tile and still, or tile and still do a rug if you wanted to. But you're going to have to do something on the floor. So a rug is really easy, so I'm not really going to show you that, but I'm going to describe it since you can go back and refer to this video later when you're doing your project. But on the rug, you would just start it the same way as you do a window. You start with your line down here, you take it to the vanishing point, you end it, and then you could do like little designs on it. You do little fringes on it. If you do fringes on the top and bottom, they would need to slant back towards that vanishing point. But rugs are really simple to do, so I'm not going to waste your time by going through that. You just, again, follow the same steps we did as for the window. Now, what we would do for floor, we're going to start with a hardwood floor, and then we're going to turn that hardwood floor into tile just so that you can see how to do both options. Okay? So for either option, you're going to have to measure out right along this back line here. And by measuring it out, it's just going to ensure that our planks or tiles will all be what will look evenly spaced. Okay? We don't want to just guess willy-nilly because then we'll have some that are really wide and some that are really narrow. So for me, just based off of the size I happen to draw my back wall, both mine kind of start in on a 1/4 inch mark. So I'm going to just come back here and I'm going to do every 1/4 inch along this wall. Okay? Now, some of you might, I wouldn't go, you could go 1/8 of an inch if you want, but I probably would not go any bigger than a 1/4 of an inch because then they probably look way too big. So I just measured evenly out here, right along. I want to do it closer to my vanishing point because it'll look better than if I were to try to do it down here. I could do it down here, but you just have to use wider marks, I guess. But, all right, so are we all measured out? Okay, I'll give y'all. I did a 1/4 of an inch on mine. I wouldn't go any more together than 1/8 of an inch. So I probably wouldn't go any bigger than a 1/4 of an inch. It depends on, if you did like a bigger back wall than me, then maybe you just have more space to fill, you know? Bring it up, let me look. You did, I think. Yeah, I just did a 1/4 inch. So you didn't finish off the line. All right. So what I'm going to do, normally, or in the past, I've always done the floor before I did the furniture, but then if you're a heavy-headed drawer, then you wind up having like these lines in your furniture that you don't want. So I think it's better just to draw your furniture first and then just work your floor lines around your furniture. Now, I am still going to go back and probably teach y'all how to do like a table in the middle, but you kind of need to see the floor stuff, so we're going to go ahead and do that. So now that I've got these markings, this is how I'm going to do my flooring. I'm going to line my ruler up to my vanishing point, and then I'm going to slide it up to one of those points, and then I'm going to draw my lines. Now, common beginner mistake is a lot of people will start with this really good, but then as they go, they wind up just moving their ruler the same all the way across, and so then we wind up having these lines, these wrong angles all the way through. What is going to happen, and what should happen, is everybody watching real fast? Your lines, if my ruler is my line, your lines will eventually change direction, okay? They'll gradually start to angle the other way. That's what should happen. So if you catch yourself all going one way, you're not paying attention to your vanishing point. They should all vanish back here and kind of, let me see if I've got my last hour's example. This is my last hour's example after we did the tile. But you see how it all kind of goes in towards that point? That's what they should all be when we're done, okay? Don't worry about the tiles part. We're just doing the vertical lines because there's a different way to draw those tiles. So I'm going to draw my lines kind of dark so that the camera picks it up pretty good. But as I get to my furniture, I'm just moving my line around it. I'm just going to pick it up and then put it back down after I get around my furniture. But you can see now that I'm getting towards the middle, it becomes more, they start to change direction. No, it just depends on how you measured it out. Okay. How many of y'all are still working on your floor? All right, I'll go ahead and do that. Yep. So, hardwood floor, like you won't have one long strip, like that goes the whole length of the room. It's going to eventually go like break into a couple different strips, but they don't ever like put the ends of the wood like side by side next to each other. That's how when you get wood and it swells, it kind of bows up. That's why they kind of stagger it, so that it kind of helps prevent that from happening. So if you're going to do wood planks, now you guys don't do this right now because you're just going to have to erase it to do the tiles, but I just want to show you, again, because you can refer back to this video and see it later. But if you're doing wood floors, you might just kind of go back in here. Again, I've got a horizontal line. My ruler's nice and lined up. And then you just kind of maybe pick every other one to do it. A lot of them, that's usually how it is. They'll just go every other one, and then they'll go back and just alternate it. Okay? Does that make sense? So then, and actually the next step we do for the tiles, probably how you would want to, there's a step here that I'm leaving out, but and I'll explain it to you, but you just can kind of see wood planks, they need to alternate edges. Well, I'm going to teach you how to do tiles. but you will apply the same steps to the tiles to do the ends of our wood planks. Okay? All right. So, now for tiles. If you'll notice here, like, everything is bigger, all these squares are bigger towards us, and they get smaller and closer together the closer they get to the vanishing point, further away from us. Now, this is very, like, exact, I guess you say. Like, I have a technique here that we'll use so that we're not guessing on our spacing on those horizontal lines. What you're going to do is you're going to do a very light diagonal line that cuts across your floor, and then wherever that line hits, we'll have like where we'll do our horizontal lines. Now, don't start without me, just so that I know some of y'all just get ahead, and I don't want y'all to get ahead and do it wrong. So, ideally, to do this technique, we would see the back corner of these rooms where they end, but our paper, like our back corners are cut off. So I am going to kind of need to guess where I think the back corner of this room would be based off of where this line is kind of continuing. So I'm going to kind of guess where I think that's going to go. And then very lightly, I'm going to do this diagonal line that goes across. And wherever that line intersects, so let me move in here because I do it really light. But all these points where they intersect here is where we're just going to line up our ruler. So this first one is this, do what? Well, it might just skip past it. You know what I mean? So now that I've got that, I'm going to come up to this first one here. I'm going to make sure my ruler's straight, and I'm going to do a horizontal line all the way across from there. So then I'm going to scoot it down to this next point here. Again, making sure my ruler is horizontal with my paper. And then I'll do my next row. Now, if you were doing wood planks and not tiles, you would do every other, like you would still do this technique, but then instead of just drawing a line straight across for tiles, you would alternate your lines. So, Michael, you were wanting wood planks, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so watch real fast. So I would say I would do like a line here. I would still line my ruler up correctly, but I would just skip. And you know what I mean? So you still want to use that spacing there. But does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Where do I need to back up?
Like as soon as you were starting to like tiles or whatever, because I was still trying to get my kids done.
Okay, let me get another piece of paper. So I'm going to do this without. Hey, I'm going to do this without a ruler, the quick version, just to kind of get you caught up here. So we have our room. Okay, we measured this out, all even, right? And then I've got my vanishing point back here, and we're doing all these lines. You're up to that point, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so from here, to get like the cross parts, I'm going to do this very, very light line that's diagonal that goes from this corner, and it's just going to kind of cut across to the opposite corner of my room over here. And then, like, at these points where it intersects, like, this looks kind of distorted because of just how I quickly drew this. But that gives you a guide of, okay, this is where I need to put this one. This is where I need to put this one. Does that make sense? This is where, like, my horizontal lines are going to cross through those points. Does that make sense? Yes? No?
Yes.
I know. How do you make sure that's where the stuff goes?
The diagonal line tells me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, never mind.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah. That didn't make sense.
That's okay. You were a few steps behind too, so you probably just didn't see all that. Okay. So is there anybody's floor looking really weird? And your floor? That's great. Okay. Bring it up. So kind to each other.
Are the tiles supposed to gradually get bigger?
Yes. It's not that. I don't know what to do with that one. Okay, you don't have to do it. Just the one. Well, I don't need to do it that one. So, I think it would be how small you have your gap here. You didn't have room for many here. So, if you had more, then you would probably have another. But honestly, I would probably. Oh, is that what you're saying? It crosses under the house. Oh. So if this line, this line, this line, that's all it is. I would probably. They will be big. Like, look at my finished line here. Like, they should be bigger. Okay. Okay, how many of y'all are still working on the floor? Okay, continue.
Wait, I actually did it. I'm so good.
Okay, so for me, because Savannah was just up here, she was kind of in the same predicament. I was actually in the same predicament in second hour when I was doing this. So for me, I feel like this last row, like I don't have any more over here for it to crisscross to. I run out of paper. But I do feel like this is too big. So again, I can kind of maybe like guess where I might have like another one. And I could probably put in one more if I wanted to. But you just got to make sure it, you're going bigger, slightly bigger than the row before if you're going to guess. Okay. Yeah, when you're done, erase that diagonal line. I don't know if any of you guys are like ever interested in designing video games or anything like that, but like all this stuff that you learn in here, guess what? All those guys know how to do too. They know how to apply this perspective stuff to their backgrounds, their scenery. So just for those of you that are like, this is pointless, it's really, for some of y'all, it's going to help make you a lot of money one day. Or architecture. I've had several students go to OSU and join the architecture department, and they like first thing they do in college is perspective stuff. So, and architects make a lot of money too. All right, so we're going to stop here for today, and we will pick up. We're not done with this, so don't lose it. So hang on to it, okay? And we'll learn some more next time.